Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome wherever you are coming in from the world. I'm Jen Whitmer, and this is Monday Mentor with Jen, and I help teams and leaders solve conflict, cultivate communication, and create empowered teams so everyone is whole and work is a joy and organizations flourish. And every week I bring on a great guest to talk to us about their area of expertise and to support us in growing in our leadership. And this week, I'm very excited about Matt being here with us today. He is a new friend of mine. He is a fractional CFO. And I'm going to ask him a little bit about what that means. And he is also an investor in e-commerce and just has a wealth of wisdom to offer us about leadership and cash flow and all kinds of great things today. So if you are here, let us know you're here in the comments. If you're coming in live, if you're watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay. And I'm going to welcome Matt.
Hello. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm so good. We're so glad that you are joining us today.
It's so great to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, I always like to start with, your story. How did you get here, starting your career and then ending up as a fractional CFO? And if you could tell us what that means. And
Yeah,
how
sure.
do you help people?
Sure. So the path here was circuitous. I started off at 19 wanting to be a doctor and doing a first year university, realizing I hated that. And then I went full blue collar and worked in metal recycling for 10 years. From there, I realized it's probably not what I want to do full time, and switched to finance and accounting. And then got some opportunities to work in some small businesses and really make an impact from knowing how numbers work. Then went to an accounting firm, and then from there I went to be a CFO of a private equity group. And then from there, when COVID started, I got 3 hours a day of commute time back and realized I did not want to go back to the office. And so then I've been a fractional CFO since then, since 2019, but full time started during COVID.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody else recently about the circuitous paths, that I think
hmm
that is actually the norm. It's not, I think most of us don't, this is the next step and this is the next step, and it's just not a straight ladder. I don't really
No.
know anybody that happened like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, some CFOs have and do. You start off at Deloitte and you put in your time, and then someone pulls you across, and then you move up, and then that happens. But I was appointed CFO for the first time when I was 32. So that's pretty young, and I think a large part of that was just having experience in by then 8 different industries and being have a successful
Yeah.
helping people.
Well, I think that's what the valuable piece is of those
hmm
routes that give you exposure to different places. And then you bring all of that experience
Yeah.
in with the rest of your expertise. And I think sometimes leaders in corporate spaces, particularly women, will sometimes not apply for something because they're
Mm.
like, oh, I didn't follow this path.
hmm
And rather than actually, I have this great experience that makes it's a differentiator for who you are. And I think that happened for you.
Yeah, I mean, I applied for anything and everything I thought I would have the remotest chance of getting, and I would just research how do you write cover letters, and anyway, what I learned how to do was talk about the successes that I had, no matter how big or small, because they all mean something.
Mhm.
And I mean that definitely was part of was helpful in getting the role the first time as CFO.
Yeah. And that's really important. I'm kind of curious, if you're watching live,
hmm
how do you feel about that? Like, if you have the circuitous path, if you're like, oh no, I've also gone in some circles, or if you're like, no, I kind of went straight, and what that experience is like for you. I'm just curious what our listeners have to say. And before, I really want to jump in because I think money is such a fascinating
Mm.
part of leadership. It's something that sometimes gets well, that's the accounting department, or that's just the job of the CFO. And I feel like you're going to offer us something different to think about in that space. So tell us a little bit about just what do you think of as the importance and the role of the CFO, and how does that serve the rest of the organization?
Yeah, I think CFOs used to be like bean counters, accountants, and it's evolved a lot since then. Now a CFO has to be like a business partner with the CEO or the founders. They have to partner with other departments to help them understand the impact they have on the organization, good or bad. Um, I think because we love numbers, we can help people map initiatives onto the financials, and so help you understand how what you're doing might translate to profit, revenue, whatever. Um, I find that in the most high functioning organizations, I am working cross functionally, and the ones that are really
Mhm.
functional, I'm very siloed. And
Mm.
those ones, because I have opportunities, I could do whatever I want now, but um, where I'm integrated, people are typically more high functioning.
Yeah, I think that that is across the board. As I work with leaders, as I work with organizations, and supporting healthy team function, it is always the ones who understand how to, as you said, partner
Hmm.
and see the connection between here's what my arena is in charge of and how
Hmm.
that connects to us all reaching the big goal, like what we're all going for. I think that's
Totally.
a really important part. So when you think of somebody who's coming up as a leader, I think sometimes this maybe the stereotype or the story that happens was like, we can't do it because finance said we couldn't do it. Like
Hmm.
that happens, I think, a
Hmm.
lot for that
Yep.
group. How could you help leaders who aren't the financial people partner with you better? What are some things that are helpful for you when you're creating that cross functionality and integration?
Um, I think like lean on me as a
Mm,
CFO. Really tell me the things you're excited about, worried about. And I would say the best CFOs out there, there are a lot of good, really good ones. Um, they can help you really do what you want, and more than just revenue targets, more than just
mhm,
profit targets, more than just exiting your business. I mean, you can tell someone who's both empathetic and good with numbers that, look, I'm worried about X with my family if we exit too early or too late, and we can begin to help you make a map to get to where you want to go. Um, I would say, yeah, I mean, honesty is probably, and openness and vulnerability are probably the biggest, biggest things to do. Like, because we really can help. Like anybody that's good, and there are a lot of them. Like I say, we have done uh, a bunch of different roles. We work with a bunch of different people. We've had to deal with personal finance and strategy and seen businesses lose and win and all these things. And so I think people that are vulnerable with me or and other fractional CFOs will get the most from them.
mhm. I think that is again such a universal target for healthy leadership here's where we're going, here's where I
Hmm.
want to go. How do we make that possible? And being vulnerable is a very different space than
Yeah.
we're just going to make it happen and I don't
Hmm.
care what you say. That's
Hmm.
not how we work best as teams.
Hmm.
So I'm curious as we're talking about vulnerability, which can get, get a little emotional about
Of
some
course.
things. And I think about how much money often is the surface
Hmm.
issue about something. And oftentimes when I'm dealing with one of my areas of expertise is conflict resolution.
Hmm.
And money often is a part of that. So like it's the presenting injury, but it's not actually the root
Hmm.
problem.
Hmm.
So when those emotions get involved, how do you help people deal with, as a leader, those emotions? When emotions get heightened around this concept of money, how do you work through that in your role as a leader?
I mean, I've gone through a lot of therapy myself.
Same.
Yeah. And I mean, thing you learn first and foremost is being validating, right? Like, man, that
Yeah.
fucking sucks. And I feel the same way. And I actually have felt, somebody, obviously that's the first thing. Um, what I would say, a lot of the emotion that I deal with from founders is related to um, uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so when I can help people work through uncertainty is where I'm most effective. Like, I mean, everyone's been there. You're stressed about cash, you're not sleeping very well, and then you're not sleeping very well. So, you're mean to your kids and you're really, all of that, right? But or it's like I have this initiative that's happening and I don't know how it's going to go. Is it going to sink us? And so what I can do and what I do is I try to show them the scenarios on financial statements.
Hmm.
Because what I can do is I can say, look, if this works or doesn't work, here's what may or may not happen. For example, if this initiative completely fails, this might be the result. And if it's a very bad result, we can avoid it before we try. And if it's a minimal result, it's just a test. I can show people that, look, you're going to
Mm,
blow 30 grand. You're going to get nothing from it, but you still have cash in the bank. It's okay. So that's where, actually, that's honestly the most important thing that I do for anybody is helping them work through uncertainty by showing them a variety of outcomes, filtering for the ones with worst outcomes, of course.
mhm.
But I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like if you know this initiative is either going to work or not work, but if it doesn't work, you're still going to be fine. You're not that worried about it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I love the way you started. It really from a place of empathy, like
Hmm.
empathy and validation. That is a genuine concern. That's not
Hmm.
crazy. That's not out there. Like that's I think when people really feel unseen in
Hmm.
that way, or told they're being irrational
Yes.
versus, oh, that's a really I see how you feel that way. I see
Hmm.
that difficulty, and that's a real difficulty. And here's how we can start to address that difficulty. I think
Yep.
that's a really important place to start. Again, in so many different areas of leadership. So when you're experiencing that conflict, what are some of the questions that you ask people to help get to that root issue? So you've said, empathetic and how you
Hmm.
validate that,
Hmm.
but to get to those like scenarios, you've got to draw some things out. What are
Yep.
some great questions that you ask to get there?
Um, this is something I'm obviously still learning. But I mean, one of the first things I ask when I sign on with anybody, even before, like, what do you want? What do you
Hmm.
want? Like, where is this all going? Where do you want it to go? I can help you figure out where it might go, but like, what do you want to do? Um, and and sometimes, you'll get into the why. Like, why do you want to do that? And it's to leave a trust fund for my kids, or digital nomads, or there's all kinds of reasons why. So I really do try to understand, like, what they want and why,
Hmm.
because it informs what I'll do as well. Like if someone wants to sell in 2 years and leave a bunch of money to their kids, well, it's like, well, my advice will then be, how do we get to that point? And then should we start looking at some personal tax considerations and things like that? I mean, I'm not a tax person, but I've done tax, so I know. um, but I'm just trying to, the whole thing is about understanding what and why, I guess. I
Yeah.
will help with the how and the when. Um, but I mean, if I understand what somebody wants and why they want it, I can be so much more effective.
It's the simplest of questions, but
Yeah,
really some of
totally.
the most powerful. Like it's what we do. It's funny. I joke that even though I'm a speaker, my main goal is actually I'm a professional question asker. Like even
Mm,
though I'm standing in front and delivering, I'm asking a lot of questions to
hmm.
get there.
Hmm.
And those simple questions, what does this look like for you? What do you want and
Hmm.
why?
Hmm.
Are incredibly powerful questions for people because
Yeah.
often I think in my experience, I'm curious if this is your experience, people ask, what should I do before they ask, what do I even want?
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm,
think that's true in a lot of cases.
yeah. So I'm going to just turn the tables on you a little bit.
Sure.
What what do you want to do with your business as you're moving forward and doing this, working for a couple different companies in this
Hmm.
really great role? I mean, I know you said you wanted to get rid of your commute and keep that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you want to do?
Yeah, I've been working through this for about a year, and a lot of it was in therapy. And at one point, I was thinking, should I just be the solopreneur, have just 3 or 4 clients, work a little bit, and hang out? And then I decided, no, I want to make this a real thing, and I want to help a lot of people if I can. And so, where I want to get to is I want to help a lot of people. Um, I'd like to grow my business to a pretty good size, and I would like to sell it someday.
Yeah.
I don't know when that would be. And why do I want that? Well, retirement, right? Like, I mean, I came from a family that didn't have a lot, still don't, and I can see that there's a lot of them are still working into their 60s, 70s, and I don't want to do that. I want to be around for my grandkids and take them at a moment's notice and pop in, and I want to be free, and I want to have freedom in my older years, I guess,
Yeah.
and I want to have freedom now too, which is why I'm not working corporate anymore, because I want to be there with my children. They're 9 and younger, so I have lots of time still. Well, sometimes still to really connect with them, but I want to be around a lot for them.
Yeah. I think that's so common that at our core as humans, we're like, I want to help people
Hmm.
and I want to be around for the people that I love. Like, and that root
Basically.
is in everybody, even people who are working in corporate. Like, I want to help people in my
Hmm.
job and I want to do this so my people are taken care of.
Totally.
So I know this is slightly off topic, but one of the things as I was getting to know you and looking through your things, and you talk about being a dad
Hmm.
quite a bit. And
Hmm.
so what do you want your kids to view you as? What kind of legacy do you want to leave for them in this circuitous journey that you've been taking?
Um, I think first and foremost, I want to be somebody remembered for being around and available.
Mhm.
Like because you can be around and not really available. So I want to be available emotionally and everything as well for them. If I could do that, that would be great. I'd die happy, I think. Um, in addition to that, I mean, yeah, I want them to know that dad helps people and um, dad took care of us and he's still taking care of us even after he's gone. Like that was some of the things I'd want them to think about. Or grandpa, my grandfather left, took care of us all after long after he was gone. So um, those are some of the big things. But I think, again, first and foremost, rich, poor, don't give a shit. I want them to know that I was around and available.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important. I think it's a good point too that we can be around and not available, and that sometimes it's those, at least for me. So my kids are older. I have two in college and two still at home.
Oh, wow.
And it's the random car moments. It's
Exactly.
the, making dinner together times.
Hmm.
And my kids get frustrated with me because I'll ask them sometimes questions that I'll ask in leadership coaching with other people and ask them. They're like, oh,
Totally.
mom, but then a week or two later, somebody's sauntering up to me while I'm cutting vegetables, and they're like, "I
Hmm.
was thinking," and
Awesome.
that type of availability and being willing to engage them as humans is such a huge part of parenting. So, anyway, I know that's a little bit not our topic, but I
Okay.
think when I think of leadership, and one of the things I'm always trying to help people do is realize that we're whole people, that we
Hmm.
bring it all with us, and just like you're asking the what and the why, most people aren't selling their business so they can have a bigger yacht. I mean, some are, but I think most people are, I want to do something that helps the world and
Yeah.
helps their family.
I think a yacht would be a wonderful byproduct. It's not the
I do
goal,
too. I would
but
not turn it down. But when it's really hard, that's not motivating to me.
no, no, not at all. No. Yeah.
Uh, oh my goodness. Okay, so I just looked at the time. I do this I need to like have a different timer because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time for us to stop. So I would love for you to tell the people how they can connect with you, where they
Sure.
can find you. This goes to your website
Okay.
about 8X,
Yep.
but how can they connect with you and how can you help them in what they're doing?
I think LinkedIn is a great place to start connecting with me. I try to post pretty regularly. And if you ask questions on something I posted or DM me, typically available. Um, that's really the best place to start. I'm not active on Twitter or really any other social.
Mhm.
So yeah, find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably more optimized than my website, to be honest. So I mean, just pop over and say hi and ask for something if you need it.
That's great. I love it. So make sure you check Matt out, connect with him, take him up on his offer. He does post really interesting things. I love reading them. And he's a great connection and follow on LinkedIn, and just enhances things that I don't typically think about. And I've loved learning more from you. So thank you
Oh,
for
well, thank you.
that. And we're so excited that you were here today.
Me
Appreciate your
too.
wisdom. Next week, I just need to double check and make sure I'm saying the right
Hmm.
person who is coming next week. Um, La la la, Corrine Walsh. Yes, I'm so excited. It's Corrine. I was like, I thought she was 2 weeks away. See, this is why I have an assistant who helps keep me straight. So Corrine Walsh will be here next week, and we are here live every Monday at 1 p.m. So please join us in the comments and let us know your thoughts. Matt, thanks again for
Thank you
being
so
here.
much. This was
Appreciate
awesome.
it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.